Welcome back everyone, Flasher D here with another video. Today we'll be showcasing you how you can play Yordles into the late game as you transition into them if you don't get them early on. So currently right now with my team setup, I have 2-star Alawi, 2-star Graves, 2-star Kassadin, 2-star Tristana, and 1-star Quinn. So my augments right now, I have makeshift armor and I also have socialite. Socialite basically makes it so that I get one free socialite augment on the board, which is where Alawi is sitting, and I also get makeshift armor, which makes it so any unit that isn't holding any item gets armor and magic resist. The reason why I went with this style of Yordles is because in the early game I didn't get any strong Yordles. As you can see, only right now do I have a 2-star Tristan on the board, but on my bench I have nothing else as 2-star. Had I tried to force Yordles early on, I would have taken a lot of damage. At the moment I chose that I would be better for me to sit at 88 HP to have a high health total, only because I know if I'm going to transition to Yordle I will start losing. Because though I am at such a high HP threshold, my items aren't the best. I was able to get Alawi with a tier early on, but in the Carousel Rounds I wasn't able to get a second tier, and as a result I'm only able to get the Negatron Cloak, the Giant's Belt, the Chain Vest, and also the BF Sword from the PvE rounds and the Carousel. At the moment I don't have a Gunblade for my Heimerdinger or a tier, or technically blue buff from Heimerdinger. In this Carousel round, I look to see if there's any tier. Unfortunately, there's no tier, so the next best thing would be the Needlessly Large Rod. Unfortunately, the Needlessly Large Rod gets taken away right away, so I look for the next best thing. It's either going to be a Negatron Cloak, which is for my Vex, but I see that Vex gets taken with Negatron Cloak, so I decided to take the Leon for Negatron Cloak. The Negatron Cloak is going to go into a Negatron Cloak for the Vex to go into the Dragon's Claw. The Dragon's Claw will provide a lot of tankiness for Vex. At this point, I am able to get a 2-star Ziggs, so I sell the Leona, I get the Negatron Cloak onto the bench, and I contemplate on whether or not I want to start putting in the Yordles. At this stage, I'm able to get 3 Yordles on the board, so I can start cashing out on the Yordles to be able to get the extra Yordle every turn, which is basically a bonus 1 to 3 gold every turn if you weren't playing Yordles, but since I'm getting it so late, it is a little bit slow. By having the Graves 2-star, Alawi 2-star, and Kassadin 2-star early on, it basically allows me to preserve my health total, so that way I can transition to Yordles without taking too much damage. Having a really strong early game allows me to transition into a weaker comp mid game, which is Yordles, into a crazy late game, which is also Yordles. Yordles have some pretty insane late game, but if you compare it to like 7 Innovators or 3-star Katarina with Ionic Spark, unfortunately it doesn't contest those comps well, but Yordles I would say is pretty high mid tier, low high tier, and it's pretty consistent relatively, and you're able to consistently place top 4 if you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, Yordles is a fantastic way to get yourself into 8th place really quickly, because either you take too much damage early on or you agree out on your items and you don't plug them on your carries relatively soon, because sometimes you might end up in the position where you have 1-star Heimerdinger with blue buff and Hexa Gunblade, but it's not putting in enough work. Luckily though, in this stage of the game, I am able to start getting my tier 2s online for the Yordles. But as you can see right here, even with like my tier 2 Yordles and my 2-star Graves, 2-star Alawi, 2-star Kassadin, I'm no longer winning, which tells to me that right now my comp is starting to fall off. But if you look at this person's gold, he has no gold, so that basically means he's hyper rolled all the way down. This person's poor and I'm relatively rich. We enter into the creep round, and at this point I'm starting to consider switching into full 6 Yordles by taking away my Kassadin, my Graves, and my Alawi. By doing so, it will make my overall team weaker, which means I will be taking a lot more damage, but I will be getting the 6 Yordle buff, which basically allows my Heimerdinger, if I can get a blue buff and a Gunblade, to be putting in work. Unfortunately, I do not get a tier, so that means I can't get the blue buff online, but I do have a rod and a BF sword now, so I can do the Hex Tech Gunblade. I do get myself the 2-star Vex, so I instantly put the Dragon's Claw on the Vex, making her very tanky. I contemplate on whether or not I want to make a Sunfire for Vex, and I decide that it's probably best for me to put the Sunfire on Vex, because at the moment I'd like to get as much offensive stats on the board as early as possible to avoid my team from getting rolled, because I do make the transition into 6 Yordles. By doing that, transitioning into 6 Yordles, I do have the bonus, but unfortunately I don't have the blue buff to leverage it so that Heimerdinger is able to cast his ultimate with 1 less auto. At the moment, it takes like 2, 3, 4 autos for Heimerdinger to cast an ultimate, which takes a while. At this point, it takes 3 autos before Heimerdinger can cast his ultimate, which is a little bit slow. I am able to eke out a win, but I am against someone who's in, well, sort of high place, but he's not that strong. At this point, as I'm looking at the comp, I realize my positioning is kind of bad because I have a pocket for literally any assassin to jump into, so I go with my classic setup right here. Ziggs in the corner, so if there's a Blitzcrank, it's going to hit, or it's going to hook either the Ziggs or the Lulu. Heimerdinger is technically the carry at this point. Vex is kind of a meat shield, but she can do some decent damage if she survives long enough. I make the decision to slowly roll down a little bit to see if I can hit my comp. I do see that this person is also contesting me for Yordles a little bit, but they're also going Innovator Splash. They do have the Vex with the Dragon's Claw and the Heimerdinger with the Gunblade. I also have a Heimerdinger with the Gunblade, but unfortunately I don't have it with blue buff. I'm really looking to get the blue buff as soon as possible because that's a huge power spike. Gunblade and blue buff is a huge power spike for Heimer because he then becomes basically an alt pot. Luckily, I am able to eke out the win, and I am still relatively healthy. As we're entering into this stage of the game, my bench is completely filled, and I see the Lulu, grab the Lulu, and I contemplate on whether I want to roll down or not. I take a look at everyone's board, and I see that this person is the 2-star Taric now. This person is going a little bit of Innovators. This one has Mercenaries, and I'm looking at it so far, and I'm doing pretty well so far. I have a decent health total, but that just means that going into the next carousel round, I'm going to be lower in priority for picking an item, which is going to be a little bit scary. I'm going against another Yordle comp. This one has a splash of, well, not even a splash. This person only has like Swain and Darius, which doesn't provide any useful buffs. As you can see on the bad person's bench, they are also going for Yordles. So at this point, we're going for we're being heavily contested for Yordles, which is fine. The reason why this is fine at the moment was because we had like a decent early game, and we are the strongest Yordle in the room right now because luckily we do have a health total, but also a strong enough comp that with the 6 Yordles on, it allows us to still eke out the wins against the people who only splash Yordles. The 6 Yordles is very important because it reduces the amount of mana it costs for your Yordles to cast their ultimate. I just try to look for a tier. Unfortunately, in this carousel round, the tier is taken. Everything useful is kind of already taken, and I'm really left with only like a Negatron Cloak and an Urgot. I decide that I'm just gonna go for the Negatron Cloak because the belt isn't gonna be too useful for my bench right now. The belt could give me a redemption with the tier, but I still technically need my tier for the blue buff if I can still get it, because if you don't get blue buff, you are kind of trolling with Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger really needs his blue buff. The only way to alleviate that is if you have Scholar, but trying to get the Scholar is also not that easy to slot in at this time because the only Scholar you probably want on your team is going to be Janna or Lysandra if you can find it, but ideally Janna because it will give you the Enchanter bonus as well. At this point, we're going against Innovator. This one is tough because this person absolutely destroys me because number one, Seraphine gets a juicy ult and just blows up my entire squad, and this person also has a Jace, which is kind of scary. So things are looking At this point, a little bit abysmal because I can tell that I'm not going to be able to keep my health total up because at this stage I know that people are going to be stronger. Out of all these augments here, makeshift armor is probably the best, but I decide that, you know what, I want to try something different. I want to try something spicy. I will say Exiles 3 or Makeshift Armor 3 is probably the best, but with Yordles with their low health total, I decide maybe not Exiles. Makeshift Armor 3 is definitely the call, but I decide to try something new and boom, go into Arcanus. I read Arcanus and I realize Arcanus 4 sucks. Only my Vex and Ziggs gets extra AP from the 2 bonus Arcanus, and I just realized that, wow, Makeshift Armor would have buffed up 5 of my characters, and Arcanus only makes 2 of my characters stronger. So I learned for the future that, yeah, Arcanus sucks unless you're going full Arcanus. Besides the point, we make it work. We start rolling down because we need to get our Yordles online. At this point, we run into the classic problem of my units aren't at a point where they are going to level themselves up and turn into 3 stars, so I make the concession that I have to start selling units that aren't going to be that useful for me. Poppy is one of the units that's very far from a 3-star. Ziggs is also another one that's very far from 3-star. The ones that I have pretty close to 3-star are Tristana and Lulu, but I need 2 Lulus and I need 2 Tristanas and I need a single Heimerdinger. Which is kind of annoying because none of my units are lining up to the point where if I only get one, I'll be fine. At this point, it's only going to be starting to give me like Poppy and Ziggs because those are the ones that are still left in the pool. I'm unlikely to get the other units because those have been taken up by the enemies because they already are contesting me heavily for like Vexes, Heimerdingers, and Lulus. We enter into the creep round. And I luckily get a Taric, and then I slap the Taric on, get myself a 2 Socialite. And we go on to the creep round. At this point, I'm still looking for a tier. If you don't get the tier on your Heimerdinger, you're gonna be in a slightly bad spot. Luckily in this creep round, I do get the tier, which basically puts my Heimerdinger at his sort of most useful state, which is old bot. I look at this board and I contemplate on whether or not I want to keep the Taric on the board, and I decide that, you know what, I'm gonna sell the Ziggs, get the Vex, roll down a little bit. There's the Poppy, but Poppy's not that useful. Taric is very useful for having the Enchanter bonus and also the Socialite 2 at this point, but my board or my bench is completely filled and I'm running out of options. I need to try to like get my 3 stars as soon as possible, but right now I'm just board locked and bench locked. I don't have the room to make it work, and so things are looking kind of dicey. We go up against first place, and this person has like a 3-star Garen, but luckily we are able to get the win out because the person built Garen very strangely. At this point on, we get another Poppy. Poppy's basically useless. I roll down because I'm getting kind of desperate. I decide that looking at the board, if I get the Lulu, I only need 1 more Lulu to get myself the 3-star. So I decide I'm going to sell the Taric, put the Heimerdinger on, get the Lulu into the bench, and roll. And we roll, and we get the Tristana, but once again, Tristana needs 2 Tristanas before she can level up, which is very, very annoying. So I look at the board and it's really bad. Oh, my bench is kind of chunked. I need 2 Vexes to get 3-star Vex. I need 2 Tristanas to get Tristana to 2-star. And I need 1 Heimerdinger to get. So I made the concession. We sell one of my Vexes to get Tristana, Lulu, and Heimerdinger ready to level up if I ever come across any one of them. I just need 1 of them to get myself that 3-star. If I don't get the 3-star, we are in a bit of a bind. We get another Poppy. We roll. We find a Vex, which doesn't help us at this point because we just sold the Vex. But then finally we get lucky. We get the Heimerdinger, instant 3-star. Oh, clears up some spots on our bench. We can get the Vex, and we start to roll down our gold because we are looking mighty well. And we find the Tristana, we roll, and we're like, we got 6 units, we'll just throw on the Warwick. And hopefully he'll give us a trait. He doesn't. Troll should just put the Lulu in. Lulu or Vex would have been a fine alternative. But at this point, we are very, very strong because we have the Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is able to put in a ton of work, but unfortunately he is frontlining right now and he gets popped. This person has GP 3-star and they have a pretty strong mercenary comp at the moment. GP 3-star, very, very strong, can provide a lot of value. And that person has these gloves on, which is a little bit scary. We enter into the Carousel Round. At this point, the items are full items, and I'm looking at this board. I see that I'm kind of first pick, so I immediately look for the Jeweled Gauntlet because that's going to go on my Heimerdinger, and that's going to give my Heimerdinger a lot of damage, which is going to be a lot of value. All the other items aren't that good, only because the Rabadons is going to give me flat AP, but having the crit is very, very nice. Honestly, nothing would work better unless you have it with Heimerdinger. The only thing that Heimerdinger really gets value is definitely the Jeweled Gauntlet. Rabadons is some good, decent value, but it's just flat AP. We got another Vex. We sell the Jeweled Gauntlet. We put it on our Heimerdinger. Our Lulu goes into 3-star, and we start to reposition a little bit. I reposition Heimerdinger into the Social Light square. So now Heimerdinger is going to be the main carry and the main damage dealer. Unfortunately, because the Hex is so far up, I don't really have much of a choice but to almost basically frontline my Heimerdinger, which is kind of scary. So I decided to sandwich my Heimerdinger in between the Lulu, the Ziggs, the Tristana, and my frontline, which is Poppy and Vex. We are against a Academy 3-star Garen, and it's a little bit scary because this Garen is omega tanky. Double Titans Resolve and Warmogs. Luckily though, his comp isn't that strong yet, and we are able to get some decent damage going. We enter into the next round. My Vex finally goes into 3-star. My units are starting to shape up pretty well, but unfortunately I am nowhere close to Yordle, and at this stage at level 7 it's very unlikely for me to find any 1-star in the shop. But speak of the devil, I find Poppy. I decide that alright, I need to position my team so that way Heimerdinger doesn't get absolutely blown up. I get the Lysandra because I don't find Janna, but I still want the Scholar bonus on my team. At the moment I'm looking for items to see what I can put on my team, and I don't have much good options. I could get the ZZ Rot. For, well, my team, but I don't really want the ZZ Rod because at the moment I don't have anything I can put it on. I can't really put it on the Vex because Vex is maxed out with items. I end up with the Sunfire, the Dragon's Claw, the QSS. The reason why I put QSS on Vex is I don't want her to get CC'd, more so because she is going to be my frontline. If she gets CC'd frontline and she doesn't get her shield off and gets blown up, that's basically a game over for me. At this point, I see that in this Dragon round, we get a Zeke's Herald. Also, get the double Lysandra. Lysandra is just basically going to be my final character on this team, only because I can't find a Janna. If I have a Janna, I'd go for a Janna, but it doesn't give me it. And Lysandra is decent in the sense that she will be providing me a ton of value in the last fight. So we get the Zeke's Herald. I'm trying to figure out which character to put the Zeke's Herald on. I decide that the person who's going to get the most value with having Zeke's Herald is going to be Lulu. The reason why I put it on the Lulu is because I can position her like this. This way I can have it so that my Lulu buffs the Heimerdinger and also the Tristana. By doing so like this, I might have had better positioning technically if I put Lulu off to the right and have Tristana hold the Zeke's Herald, but I decided it's better just to have like my Lulu Protected because Lulu is the character who's going to give my team a lot of value because of her ultimate, keeps my team alive. Tristana doesn't have any items on her at the moment, so she's not really the carry. The whole point of this right now is just to be able to keep Heimerdinger alive. If Heimerdinger can stay alive, I win. If Heimerdinger dies, I basically lose. We're able to knock out the character, and we are getting more Yordles. We get another Poppy, which is lovely, but at this point I've conceded that it's only like 2 people left in the lobby. I'm not going to be able to get the Yordle Lord because I still need my Ziggs and my Poppy to go 3-star before the Yordle Lord even shows up, so I decide to completely ignore it. I start looking for Janna. Basically, if I can get myself a Janna, that'd be lovely. I could put the Taric in for the Enchanter bonus, but at this point I decided it's just better to keep the Souls. It's better to keep the Scholar bonus. We go against the Academy. This person has 3-star Leona, 3-star Graves, which is very, very scary. But I'm able to eke out the win here because even though they are pretty huge, I do end up crushing them. Unfortunately though, we get to this point where things are looking a little bit dicey, and I'll explain why in a second. We're on our last limbs and I'm getting some really weird low percentile 1-stars, so I'm able to get Ziggs to almost 3-star. We go into the next battle, not that the Ziggs is gonna really matter that much technically, and I see that this person's Leona rolled into tank items, and this person now has a 3-star Katarina. 3-star Katarina is very scary because she's got IE and Ionic Spark. She is putting in a ton of work and basically melts my backline, and I'm only left with a Vex and Tristana against a Garen, a Blitz, and a Leona. That doesn't bode too well for me because my team is not tanky enough to outlive this Garen, and this Garen just absolutely dumpsters me. At this point, we go into basically the final Carousel Round. I look at the items on the board and I decide that it's just probably best to go with the Zeke's Herald, because I'm going to stack the Zeke's Herald on the Lulu to give my Heimerdinger more attack speed so that he can get his ults out faster. I luckily get the 3-star Ziggs, and now I have to do a little bit of repositioning. I look at the person's board, notice he has Blitz, and the character that I want my Blitz to hook on is pretty much my Lissandra. Since my Ziggs is 3-star, he actually does quite a bit of damage, so I position my Lissandra to get hooked. The reason why I want Lissandra to get hooked is because she can use her ultimate to cast on herself to evade any damage, so she's also going to be in the thick of things, so she'll probably be burning a lot of key ultimates in the backline. So Lissandra does get hooked. She burns her ultimate, able to survive herself. The enemies all dump their charm spells on Lissandra. I'm able to have my Heimerdinger ramp up, do a ton of damage as Lissandra does distract the enemy team. We're able to burst out the Katarina, and in return we pound out the Garen, and we're able to take the Blitz and the Yuumi, and with that we get the easy dub. Lissandra coming in clutch. If it was any other character, it would not have worked out that way. Lissandra definitely provided a ton of value in this team comp. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.